Hey everyone! We are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content and it is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button right now as we proceed. Tap that like button right now and subscribe to this channel immediately, because the story we are about to tell you today is not simply a tennis story. It is not a ranking story. It is not even purely a sports story. It is a story about institutional power versus human connection, about a system that has lost touch with its own commercial reality, and about one 20-year-old left-handed player from Quezon City in the Philippines who is, match by match and sold-out court by sold-out court, exposing the most embarrassing contradiction at the very heart of women's professional tennis in 2026. This story has numbers that will make your jaw drop. It has attendance figures that are almost too absurd to be real. It has tournament directors publicly breaking ranks with their own sports governing body. And it has Alexandra Eala, ranked number 40 in the world, earning a fraction of what the players above her earn, and somehow, impossibly, consistently drawing bigger crowds than all of them. So let us get into every single detail, because this conversation needs to be had loudly and it needs to be had right now. Let us start with a scene that sets the stage for everything that follows. Because the contrast at the center of this story is so stark and so vivid that the only way to truly appreciate it is to place the two images directly side by side. February 15, 2026. The Khalifa International Tennis and Squash Complex in Doha, Qatar. A WTA 1000 event, the most prestigious tier of women's professional tennis below the Grand Slams themselves. A venue with 7,000 seats. A world number 4 player on the court under the lights, competing in a professional match at a premium global event. Bodies in seats, somewhere between 92 and 210 people, depending on which estimate you trust. The chairs are empty. The noise is absent. The energy that should be electrifying a flagship professional evening match has simply evaporated into the Qatari night air. Now hold that image. Now go back 6 days. February 9th. Same stadium. Same complex. A 20-year-old from the Philippines walks out to compete in the first round. Her ranking that week is in the 40s. She is not the top seed. She is not the defending champion. She does not have $46 million in career prize money. She has a left-handed forehand, an extraordinary backstory, and a community behind her that treats every single match she plays as a national event. The place is packed. Flags everywhere. Noise from the moment she appears. Energy that you could feel from outside the building. She loses. She loses in straight sets in under 2 hours and goes home with $18,300 and 10 ranking points. And the tournament continues, without her crowd. If you need a single image to understand the commercial crisis currently unfolding inside the WTA, that is it. The world number 4 cannot fill a 7,000-seat venue. The world number 47 fills it, loses and leaves. And the building immediately goes back to echoing. This is not a one-off anomaly. This is not a bad night at a difficult venue. This is a pattern that has been repeating with increasing visibility and increasing embarrassment for the institution that is supposed to be managing and growing the women's professional game. The WTA Finals in Riyadh in November 2024 drew approximately 400 fans to a 5,000-seat venue for matches featuring the best players in the world at the official season-ending championship. 400 people. And now Doha in February 2026, on a larger scale, repeating the same failure. The pattern exposes a structural problem so fundamental and so consequential that the tournament directors who are living with its consequences have started saying publicly what everyone in professional tennis has been saying privately for months. Mohsin Tabarak, the tournament director of the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships, stood at a draw ceremony on February 15th and said what needed to be said. He called the timing of top players' withdrawals strange. He argued publicly that the WTA should dock ranking points for late withdrawals rather than simply issuing financial fines. His argument was precise and devastating. Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1, who had already accumulated over $1.3 million in prize money in the first 6 weeks of 2026 alone following her Brisbane title and Australian Open final run, can absorb a financial penalty without it changing her behavior in any meaningful way. The fine is noise. It does not protect the fans who bought tickets expecting to see her. It does not protect the sponsors who paid for exposure based on a lineup that no longer exists. It does not fill the 7,000 seats that sit empty while the tournament continues without the players whose names were on the promotional posters. Tabarek's proposed solution, docking ranking points rather than money, would be genuinely consequential because ranking points are the currency of professional tennis in a way that prize money, for the very top players, simply is not anymore. You cannot replace ranking points with a bank transfer. And that, he argued, is exactly the kind of consequence the system currently lacks. The list of withdrawals from the Middle East swing in early 2026 reads like a who's who of the WTA's official hierarchy. Sabalenka withdrew from the Qatar Open's citing schedule adjustments following her Australian Open final. Iga Swiatek withdrew from Dubai citing mental readiness and schedule management. Jessica Pegula withdrew from Doha due to injury. Madison Keys withdrew. The cumulative result of all those officially worded departure statements was a series of premium professional events that could not fill their own venues, in a region that professional tennis is actively trying to develop as a new market, at a moment when first impressions matter enormously. When potential new fans arrive at a WTA 1000 event for the first time and find near-empty arenas because the headliners withdrew, they do not necessarily come back. The sport gets one chance to make that introduction, and the current system is squandering it with both hands. Meanwhile, Eala is doing the exact opposite of everything described above. And she is doing it at a ranking level and a prize money level that makes the contrast even more uncomfortable to sit with. To understand the full weight of what this young woman has already accomplished, you need to know where she started and how fast she has traveled. She began 2025 ranked 147 in the world. She entered the Miami Open as a wild card and over the course of 2 weeks defeated Yelena Ostapenko, defeated Madison Keys ranked 5th in the world, and defeated Iga Swiatek ranked 2nd in the world in the quarterfinals, breaking Swiatek's serve 8 times across 2 sets and forcing 19 unforced errors in the first set alone. She reached the Miami Open semifinals. She became the first Filipino in history to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal. She entered the WTA Top 100 for the first time in history for a Filipino player. Her ranking jumped from 147 to 75 in 14 days. By February 9, 2026, she had pushed her career high to number 40, the highest any Filipino tennis player had ever been ranked in the entire history of the WTA Tour. And everywhere she went, her community followed with a loyalty and a volume that no ranking algorithm can generate and no marketing budget can manufacture. The Dubai chapter of this story is where the numbers become almost surreal in their implications. On February 15, 2026, Eala walked onto center court at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Stadium for her debut match at the event against Hailey Baptiste. Near-capacity attendance for a first-round match. A player ranked 40th facing a lucky loser ranked 41st. Near capacity. She won the first set 6-4 before Baptiste retired with injury, and then she grabbed the microphone and looked out at a stadium full of Filipino flags and signs and people who had traveled, bought tickets, and arranged their schedules around her presence at this tournament, and she said, "These are the best fans ever." And then she switched into Filipino and greeted her people directly. The crowd's response brought the house down. 2 days later she defeated Jasmine Paolini, the world number 8, a former French Open finalist, the 6th seed in the tournament, 6-1, 7-6 in a tiebreak. Outside in the tennis village, hundreds of Filipinos who could not get into the 5,000-seat stadium had gathered on beanbag chairs surrounded by Philippine flags watching on screens. Inside, the crowd was creating the kind of atmosphere that premium professional tennis has been desperately trying to generate in this region for years. She became the first Filipino player in history to reach the round of 16 at the Dubai Tennis Championships since the event's inauguration in 2001. She said afterward that she looked up and there were Filipinos for days. She said it was a blessing. She said she was privileged and thankful to be introducing women's tennis as a new sporting world to a new demographic. That is not a press conference answer. That is a person who understands exactly what she represents and carries the weight of it with joy and with grace. The institutional irony at the center of all of this is almost too perfect to have been scripted. The WTA's commercial model is built around the premise that ranking equals star power, that the numbers next to a player's name translate directly into the bodies in seats, the noise in arenas, and the commercial value that sponsors and broadcasters and venue operators need to justify their investment. What Alex Eala is demonstrating, with statistical clarity that is impossible to argue against, is that ranking and star power in the WTA's fastest-growing markets are not the same thing. The Filipino community in the UAE alone numbers close to 1 million people. The Dubai duty-free tournament employs 3,000 Filipino staff members. When one of their own competes, they do not treat it as a sporting event. They treat it as a cultural moment, a national celebration, a gathering of community around something that belongs to them. Tabarak himself drew the comparison to Sania Mirza's arrivals in Dubai in 2005, when the Indian tennis pioneer's presence turned matches into cultural events and drew audiences that had never attended a professional tennis match before in their lives. He said he expected the same atmosphere for Eala. He was right. And the contrast with what happens when the official hierarchy of the sport withdraws, the near-empty Doha Stadium, the 400 fans at the WTA finals, could not be more explicit. Sabalenka is a two-time Australian Open champion and one of the greatest players of her generation. Nothing in this story changes that. She has earned every ranking point and every dollar in her career prize money total of over $46 million. But the question Tabarak raised on February 15th, and that the attendance numbers have been demanding an answer to for months, is one the WTA can no longer avoid. What does world number one mean in this sport's commercial reality if the world number one cannot fill a stadium and the world number 40 can? What does the WTA 1000 designation mean if the players who justify it can withdraw at will without sporting consequence? And what does it say about the direction of this sport that the player generating the most electricity in the fastest-growing markets earns $160 in prize money for every $1,000 earned by the official world number one? Alex Eala is not just making noise. She is not just a feel-good story for a new market. She is a genuine competitive force who is simultaneously exposing the most significant structural failure in women's professional tennis and filling the void that failure creates with something the sport has desperately needed: new fans, new markets, new energy, and the specific irreplaceable electricity of a community that shows up for one of their own with unconditional, passionate, commercially transformative loyalty. That is what a 20-year-old from Quezon City is doing to one of the most established sports institutions in the world. And she is only just getting started. Now we need your voice in this conversation more than ever. Drop Laban Alex in the comments if this story fills you with pride. Drop a fire emoji if you think the WTA's ranking and withdrawal system is broken and needs urgent reform. And tell us, do you believe Alex Eala is on her way to becoming one of the defining players of her generation? Smash that like button to push this story to every tennis fan who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel right now so you do not miss a single moment of this extraordinary journey, and share this video because this conversation needs to be louder than it currently is. The sport is changing. Alex Eala is changing it. And we are here for every single